Most personal development advice sounds good. And for most people, that's a problem because it feels good. It feels right. It feels encouraging. And it gives you something to think about. But for most people, especially leaders and entrepreneurs, it doesn't produce the lasting results you want and desire over time. Now, that's not because it's always wrong, but because most of it is incomplete. So in this video, I'm going to show you why most personal development advice fails and what actually works better. Because a lot of leaders and entrepreneurs have consumed tremendous amounts of advice. They've read books, they've listened to podcasts, they've saved quotes, they've taken notes, and still very little has changed for them and their business or operation. And that creates a false narrative because they start thinking that maybe they lack discipline, and they're saying things like, maybe I'm just not consistent enough, or maybe I'm just not built for this. But that usually isn't the real issue. The real issue is that advice by itself doesn't create structure. And advice without structure cannot produce the results you want and desire consistently over the long term. Now, advice can be very helpful. It can point you in the right direction. It can help you think better. It can expose a blind spot or two. And it can give you a principle or two to live by. But directions and principles are not the same as a structured system that produces results consistently. You see, advice tells you what to do, but it usually doesn't tell you when to apply it, how to apply it, and in what order. And that makes a difference. And it doesn't tell you what to do when resistance shows up, or how to keep going when the motivation fails or lags. And that's where execution begins to break down. Not because you're incapable, but because the process itself is incomplete. It's unstructured. It's the hidden flaw in most personal development advice. It operates at a surface level. It tells you, be more disciplined, be more confident, take more action, and stay consistent. And while none of those statements are technically wrong or incorrect or bad, they're incomplete because they don't tell you how to structure your life or business in a way that makes results predictable and repeatable. And that's the missing layer. And that missing layer is why two people can receive the exact same advice and arrive at two totally different conclusions, two totally different outcomes. One person applies what they heard, and the other struggles to even sustain it or get things moving. And it's not always about intelligence, education, or effort. Very often, the difference is simply structure and understanding. That's why we don't start with advice, not at Powerhouse Motivations. I'm a builder. I'm a CB. So we start with architecture because success is not built on isolated actions backed by unstructured advice. It's built on structured execution backed by systems, discovery, and foresight. Now that's a shift. You see, advice tells you what to do, but structure tells you how to do it and how to do it well repeatedly. Now, systems make it more likely that the execution actually happens when you're feeling off or the going gets tough, because without all three, advice, systems, and structured execution, progress remains temporary. But with them, progress becomes predictable and repeatable. That's why leaders and entrepreneurs don't just need better ideas. They need better operating systems built on structure. So if you want real change, stop chasing better advice and start building the structure. That's what we do. And here's where we begin. First, move from ideas to sequence. Don't just collect insights. Organize them. Think. What comes first, second, and third? And then, what supports the rest? Second, define your execution standard. What's your QQS rating? What does consistent action actually look like for you? What does it look like daily, weekly, and monthly? And third, eliminate all the decision fatigue. Pre-decide what actions matter most so you're not constantly negotiating in the moment with your emotions getting in the way. Fourth, build for structured repeatability. not just outcomes, repeatability. You see, a lot of leaders and entrepreneurs chase results without building the structure required to sustain them. And finally, here's the last piece. Stop relying on the constant need for motivation. Motivation can get you going, but it's too fragile and too unstable to sustain a serious operation. Here's the reframe. Most leaders and entrepreneurs are not failing because they lack motivation. They're failing because they're relying on shaky motivation and unstructured advice, and it's unstable. However, structure is reliable. Now, motivation can create a little movement in the moment, but structure creates patterns and platforms. And the moment you shift from shaky advice and motivation to structured execution, backed by systems and foresight, disciplined planning, everything begins to change. So if you've been applying advice and still not seeing consistent results, it's probably not because you need more inspiration or better advice, and it's probably not because something is wrong with you. It's probably and much more likely that you need structure, because advice will inform you, but structure is what helps you produce the results you want and desire. So if you're ready to move beyond shaky advice and motivation to structured execution and follow through, the 9-step life transformation system was designed to help leaders and entrepreneurs like you do exactly that. It gives you the architecture for discovery, planning, and execution, so progress becomes measurable and real. You can explore the process using the links below, and I'll see you next time.